Welcome, movie fans. Thanks for joining us on episode 94 of Reading Between the Reels, the premier podcast of spending years meticulously plotting revenge against former best friends. If you're a new listener, we're so glad you found us. And if you've been enjoying the show, please tell someone about us, post on X or Facebook, write a review on your favorite podcast catcher, or just recommend the show to a friend. I am joined by my co-host Craig, or I'm his co-host. I don't know who the co-host is.
We're all co-hosts.
Craig and Corey. Hello, guys. How are you?
Fantastic.
Yes.
I'm a podcaster, not a saint.
Oh, see? He's doing the thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So tonight we are going to go over the film The Count of Monte Cristo, released in 2002. One of my personal favorite films, as I was reminded as I watched this 3 times for this episode, because this movie is so good. We're going to put just like little timestamps in the notes of when you can mute, because Corey does not seem too pleased, so you can just mute him out. This movie's amazing.
I did not say anything about this movie to you guys yet. I was quiet on the thread all week.
Nah, you were hinting at it.
I sent you 3 GIFs. That's it.
Did you say GIF?
Why are we sending this peanut butter?
We'll get
GIFs.
to GIF. We'll get to GIF later, Corey. Let's maybe start off on a positive note. Craig, how did you feel about this film?
I love this movie. It's a just old-fashioned adventure film. I love it. It's a great blend of action and humor, but it also has like the themes of faith and forgiveness in it, which I always forget that there's like quite a bit of faith in this movie too. And that even though it is a story of revenge, ultimately he kind of comes full circle and learns to forgive those around him and himself as well. So I love this film. It's great. I haven't seen it in a while, and every time I watch it, I'm like, yes. And I love the fact that it's a period piece, so it will never feel dated.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
All right, Corey. Let's hear it. What's your thoughts on this bad boy?
First off, I think you're all going to be surprised here. I didn't hate the movie. I absolutely loved the movie.
Right? You led me to believe.
I didn't say a word all week. I went with the notion. I put out there 3 GIFs, which you could take either way. You guys are saying it wrong. This is how the French in Alexandre Dumas' time said it. And I'm just telling you, all you had to do was follow that thread. I love this movie. I'm not kidding. I'm going to tell you, first off, you get the little bit of nostalgia with the Touchstone Pictures logo that pops back up. It automatically transports me back to the 90s. I love that. And the Spyglass Entertainment logo.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. This story, I never watched it. I cannot believe I never watched it. It's an irresistible premise for a movie. This guy's wrongfully imprisoned. He comes up with a great connection in prison with Harry Potter, Albus Dumbledore, and who teaches him all the ways of the dark arts. And he ends up, I'm not kidding, wrongfully imprisoned, comes up with a revenge story, puts his revenge story, and the fact that this was written in the 1800s, based in the 1800s, sets, I think, an incredible movie that is all about adventure, filled with revenge. Absolutely love this movie. I'm putting this in my top 15 movies to watch.
Wow.
Because I'm not kidding.
Nice.
I've got it planned. I told Janice we're watching this movie next week. This is just a great one. So, swashbuckling fun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Is that a way to say it?
Yeah, totally.
Here's the thing. You got a main character who learns in his trials, actually learns, and you see him grow and progress through the trials that he's going through. And it's got some great little witty lines in there that are a little different than the witty lines that you get today. I mean, the humor is a little different, but it hits really well. And there's a lot of payoffs. This whole movie is fantastic. Star power. It's got Henry Cavill. I love him anyway. Jim Caviezel. Love him.
It's a little baby Henry Cavill.
Oh, my gosh. He's
baby
tiny.
Cavill. It's family friendly. Yeah, you can watch it with your whole family.
And I mean, it's just an incredible movie. I cannot believe you guys have been holding out on this one for me.
Corey. Okay, so the audience will know. I think Corey has been kind of we try not to talk about the movies too much before the podcast to save it for the podcast, but we do have a group chat, and Corey has kind of like been leading us along to make us think that he didn't like this movie without saying too much. And I'm now looking at it and seeing that he does have a fair amount of plausible deniability.
Yes,
But I was
do.
seriously concerned about like my opinion of Corey over here, because after the Blade
You
Runner
said
debacle and then this one,
Yeah.
I was like, no, this is the line. I'm drawing the no, Corey. I'm going to make my stand.
These
Because you
movies
put this in your top 15, I would put this. I don't think I said this when we did our like top 10 favorite movies, but after watching it, I remembered like this is a top 5 movie for me. I love this movie so much.
Yeah.
So much. It gives me the feels. Just goosebumps all over, all the time.
Well, you know what it is? I'm going to tell you, I think it's an execution of a story. I have no idea. I've never read the book. I think the execution of this story and the character they build and the whole arc they go through is a lot richer than the ones that you get in Hollywood that write today. I don't think they write as good of a character building story and some of the elements that they bring in here and execute it as well. I'm sure there's a ton they left out in the book because the book looks like it looks like the Deathly Hallows 1 and 2 put together. I mean, it's so thick.
To quote my wife, it's a thick boy, she said.
Thick boy. So, I mean, but to be able to do that, you got to cut things out. You got to shrink it down so it's a 2-hour movie. But they do it in such a great way that it's not cheesy. I do feel like the ending is very quick as to movies nowadays where it's a 30-minute climax. This is a lot less, but they do it incredible. They do it incredible. Justin, you should never have held out on this one. I should have voted for this instead of the one that I wanted.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's right. This is Justin's pick, and our listeners decided. So nice job, listeners, because all 3 of us love this movie.
Nice
and
job,
I think
Justin.
It was yes, nice
Self
job, Justin.
5.
Yes. This was the dark horse, too, if we were kind of going thematically, but I'm very happy that this one won.
All right,
So,
should we
Justin,
jump into it?
What were you going to say about it? Give us a little.
I mean, you gushed enough for all of us, but
I'm sorry.
it makes the whole movie is just it's so perfectly done. Like if I'm gonna find some critiques with it, but I'm like literally looking for them. The pacing was a little weird at times, like you said, Corey. The ending seemed a little bit rushed. Some of the camera angles or just like the cinematography in general, I don't think was particularly inspired, but it wasn't distracting. So I'd rather have uninspired than distracting. But oh my goodness, the characters in this are so masterfully played. Like Jim Caviezel and Guy Pearce, they nail it. And to see like the rise of like Edmond Dantes starts off as like this innocent, naive boy, basically. And throughout the film, you see him like learn and grow and change. And then you see Guy Pearce's character kind of take the opposite path. He like slowly ruins his life. And he's like just forever jealous of Edmund. And I love that, I guess, like dichotomy of those two characters and watching them battle it out. And I can't decide who does the better job in this film in terms of acting between Jim Caviezel and Guy Pearce, because they're both so masterfully done. And like Jim Caviezel, he's not in a lot of stuff nowadays, and it makes me sad because he's, as Edmond Dantes, like when he is plotting that revenge and he's like admitting how he can't let go of his hate, like he has the girl, he has the money, he has all that stuff, and he's like, he can't let go of his hate. Like you feel that hate. And when he's sad, like you feel that sadness. When he's in the prison and the priest asks him if he's named all the stones in his cell yet, and he just like breaks down and cries. Oh man, like you feel for that guy, and he's so like innocent and sincere when he first gets sent to prison, and he's like, I'm innocent, I didn't do anything, and then Christopher Adamson Maurice, like the prison guard, is like, oh, I know. Oh my goodness, you feel all the emotions, like a full range of emotions in this film, and it's just so expertly done. When I was done watching this week, I started last week actually. I was so sad. Like I wanted more, so I went to go like look for films that are like similar in genre, and I watched The Man in the Iron Mask, which had a kind of a similar feel to it, not as good. And then have any of you ever seen Ever After?
I've seen it.
Drew Barrymore.
Yep.
Yeah, that kind of like to me had a similar feel. I thought that was a good one. And And I was like lamenting to my wife. I was like, I want more content. And she's like, there's a book. I'm like, oh yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. So I started reading the book. Very excited. Oh man, it's so good. Okay, I'll stop.
All right. So
You started reading the book for this?
Oh no, like literally like an hour ago I started reading the book.
How many pages is it total? The book I saw online it looked like thicker than the Bible.
The one that I have is like I think it's like a Barnes and Noble one. It was like 900 something pages.
Gosh.
it's okay, Corey.
That's a lot. I
It
teach
is- it's
science, not reading.
It's
But
an investment. Those kids don't have to read in science.
They don't have to. I'm just saying, that's a lot, though.
Wicker, Corey. Come on.
Yeah.
Peek behind the curtain there. Okay, should we talk about cinematography? I mean, I want to talk about performance too. but
No,
I'll wait
sorry,
till
we
get
haven't
done.
really even got into it at all.
Yeah.
So,
What's up, Corey?
Well, I want to say about this director. I had no idea who this director was. I just looked this up.
Yeah.
I mean, I wrote his name down.
Yeah.
This guy has done
Some movies
Robin
you like?
Hood, Prince and Thieves,
Prince of Thieves. Yep.
Waterworld,
Yep.
Count of Monte Cristo, Hatfields and McCoys. He was a director. I love that series, by the way.
I love that series too,
That
Corey.
he did 3 episodes. It is phenomenal, that series. I mean, this guy has just done some amazing stuff. How is this guy not?
I love Waterworld and Prince of Thieves.
Yeah. He loves Kevin Costner, apparently.
A totally
Or
historically
did,
accurate
yeah.
accent. Yeah.
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 Well,
Anyway, there's quite a list of talent for this man's direction. So there you go. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah. Kevin Reynolds. Yeah, absolutely. It's fun to see those connections always.
Okay.
So I'll jump into cinematography because I know, Justin, you said that you didn't think that there was a ton of good stuff. I thought, or interesting, not good, but just different stuff. I there was a few things that I really liked though, that I want to point out. I really liked, for instance, the letter exchange scene between Edmund and Napoleon, where they set it up initially where you get to see Edmund's on the left and Napoleon's on the right, and they show the height difference, which is stark. And then they move to alternating shots of their faces at their equal height because they're basically peers or equals at that point, which I thought was interesting. And it kind of just it's kind of distracting when you see, like, you want to see Napoleon be short, but it's also distracting when they're having a conversation. You want to zoom in on like what's actually important is the words that they're saying. So they do that. And there's another kind of a similar thing.
I just want to jump in here.
Yeah.
I'm going to defend my boy Napoleon. He was not below average in height for his time.
Yeah, but the stereotype is that.
Yeah,
He's
it's
a
British
widow
propaganda though. British propaganda. They made it up.
The other thing that I really liked that's similar to that is when they get back from Elba, Dantes and Danglars are side by side reporting to Morel, the ship owner, and Dantes is in the foreground, so he's much bigger. Like, he's the bigger man, and the other guy's the smaller man. Like, they're literally showing you like who the better guy is. Like, the way that that's set up, I think, is just really fascinating. That you're not showing them side by side as you would typically get that shot. It's literally like we're right on Caviezel's shoulder, and you can kind of just see the other guy just sitting over there, much smaller. So I thought those two things were pretty interesting. I'll stop now and I'll come back. But those are the first two things I thought were interesting,
Craig,
composition wise.
You were brilliant at pointing out, basically, I don't know whether it's the metaphor of what the shot shows. I mean, because I don't see that, but then when you tell me, and then I go, yep, I remember that shot, and it's true. It makes more sense. I kind of,
Well, I mean, this is what literature teachers do, though. We're always looking for meaning. Even if it's not intentionally there, we're always,
yeah.
over-analyzing. No good analysis like an over-analysis.
So I have 3 things that I thought for like kind of camera work composition that they did. I'll start with one here. One is right when he's sorting out his plan after he works out in his mind in prison. Him and Dumbledore are talking, and they're going over. I can't say some of these French names; they absolutely get me.
Abby Faria, right?
Yeah. So him and Abby are talking, and they're going over, and he's kind of leading him along the way about why you're in prison, what went on, what really happened. There's more to it than just you're in prison.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets it, and he realizes he was set up. He was falsely accused. They did this to get him. He's laying in his cell looking at a chess piece. And to me, it signified, okay, chess, I got to start playing chess. Like I've been checkmated, so I need to come back. and the camera focuses on the chess piece as he's looking at it, and I felt like it was a foreshadowing that he's going to start playing chess back, and he's going to return for the next match.
Oh.
And so, and they made a real big point. He's literally just looking at it, and it's 10-second gaze looking at it, and then it focuses just on the chess piece. He turns it slightly, you see the cross, and then that's the king, and then he goes forward, and then it continues on. So I thought it was kind of an intentional shot to say,
Oh yeah,
I'm going to have to play chess.
Yeah, it's like almost the moment where he decides, okay, like revenge time.
See, Corey,
time.
you just did that, and see, now I'm impressed because I'm looking at that. There's multiple levels, obviously. You're like, oh, this is the chess piece that, the game that we would play back and forth, me and my buddy. But it is like, it's 3D chess, right? 4D chess. He's playing, he's having to plot all those things out and be several moves ahead. So that's brilliant. I love that.
So I don't have anything as deep as you guys here, but I always like to kind of look at, I guess, what came out around the same time as a movie and like see in what context was the movie released. So released in 2002, which normally early 2000s movies I hate because it's like when CGI started becoming a thing and they didn't know what to do with it. So they're like, we're going to do everything. Anyway, that being said, there are some solid movies released in 2002, one of which was Bourne Identity, which is famous for its shaky cam, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciated the restraint used in this film. I think I said this earlier, but it is not, none of the cinematography is distracting from the story. Like at no point are you like, oh yeah, there's like a guy behind that camera like filming this. Like it all felt pretty like natural, I suppose. Even the sword fights, which were very brief, like there weren't long drawn out sword fights at all. You didn't get a lot of movement in the camera. A couple of sweeping shots here and there, but that's about it. In the prison, like Chateau
D'If.
Chateau D'If, yeah. Lots of close up shots, which kind of, as like a viewer, kind of just made you feel, I think, pretty claustrophobic, like you're in this cell for years at a time. But other than that, like I'm kind of glad that it wasn't a huge spectacle, I suppose.
Yeah.
Shots were intentional, I suppose.
Yeah, was there shaky cam other than in the last sword fight? Because it stood out to me as something that was like, if there was, it wasn't a thing that was distracting. I guess that's my point. Is that when it was used there, it was like really super effective because it was really frantic. I mean, you have like Edmond Dantes on the ground trying to, find something to fight back, and it's lots of very close shots, lots of quick editing, and then that handheld shaky cam is really immersive. So you feel the stress they're feeling.
Well, to me, like, I'm okay with shaky cam in a stressful situation like that. Like, he's searching for his sword in the field, right? And it shakes in order to convey the stress. And, like, as an audience member, you feel stressed because it's hard to see what's going on. Where I don't like shaky cam is where it's just like the guy filming is like, I forgot my tripod, dudes. Sorry. I know this is a conversation, but I'm going to shake the camera everywhere. That's where it becomes a problem, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I agreed.
Yeah,
something
him.
Something I wanted to point out color-wise that I caught this time. Did you guys notice how much that when he's the Count of Monte Cristo, he's wearing red? Like,
yes, I did notice that. I just considered it was regal.
Well, purple is typically regal.
I think purple is more like royalty, though.
Yeah, and he wears a little bit of that as well. He has like a purple cape. But that red, I'm like, that's blood, passion, and revenge, right? He's very much out there. This is who I am. But what I thought was really fascinating is that when Mercedes meets him in that first time in that persona at Albert's birthday party, she's in red, and she's the only one that's in that color. And so, like, it's a very natural pairing that's happening. But I thought, like, everybody else is pretty muted colors or darker colors, and she's in this red dress, and he's all in red too. So I thought that was a really fascinating choice. But yeah, the first time he comes walking out and he's like, greetings or whatever, it's like, oh, dude, he's all in red.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So, Corey, the first time I saw this movie was probably 2002. So I I don't remember my thought process. When you first saw that Mercedes was with Guy Pearce's character, Ferdinand?
Mondego.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ferdinand Mondego.
What did you think? Did you think, oh, that backstabbing lady, or did you think maybe something else was up? Like, what was your thought?
Where they were sitting on the beach or whatever, and he says, "Make love to me."
No. When Edmund first gets back and sees that
that they're together,
that Mercedes is with Mondego.
In my mind, I thought it was just natural that, yeah, of course she married him, or I knew he wanted her anyway. I mean, I kind of worked that out.
Mm-hmm.
But because she was so flirty with him on the beach when they were laying there together, and he was like, "Make love to me," and I was like, "Wait a minute, you're Cavill's girl over here." And I thought, man, they're pretty cozy up there. Cavill's, Caviezel's girl. And so I thought they're awfully flirty. Like maybe there's something going on, but
see, I don't know if I picked it up as flirty. To me, it seemed like he's a higher station, so he can kind of say what he wants to her, and she shut it down. But I don't feel like she egged it on anymore. But since he's that higher station, she couldn't necessarily outright reject him.
Yeah, she definitely gets her digs on him later in the movie when she flat out just says to him some mean things. So
yeah,
you did please me sometimes. Yeah. You never pleased me.
Yeah, that was that hurt.
Double entendre.
One of the shots that I'm going to say that I absolutely love. There are two shots in this scene. Is when Ferdinand is looking at the scenery to get away. They show that twice. Like he stops the horse. He's looking down the road. All he has to do is ride out of here and he lives. All he has to do is ride away and he's fine. He gets away. It's the mercy from Caviezel where he said, "No mercy, just my mercy. Go ahead, go. And we'll end it here." He's willing to give up his revenge for this. And so he stops the horse. He looks at the scene and it's serene and it's peaceful and the path just goes all the way out. Shows back to him. You could tell he's thinking, and then it goes back to that scene again. And in my mind, I'm thinking, man, this guy is really digging. I have a path to get away, or I have a path to go back and try and finish this and do this. And he goes back. And I thought it was an intentional 2-shot of it to say, you got to look at it once, you got to look at it twice, and you already made up your mind. And that's going to cost him. And he's going to lose in the end because that's how stories are. So he goes back and he makes the comment, "I can't get away knowing that you are going to be more successful than I am and richer than I am." And I thought that was powerful. It made sense why they showed that scene and why he struggled to get away, to just go. He was like, "I can't do it. I can't do it. I have to go back and kill him off because I can't let him win."
Well, yeah, because if he left, then Edmund, he won. He took away his money, he took away his wife, he took away his son. Like, everything's gone.
He 4D chessed him. Yeah.
And then when he gets back, he's on the horse. Did you see when Caviezel comes walking out of the castle with the sword and his white shirt, just looking amazing like Jim Caviezel can do? His beard's shaved, and so he's got that clean face. He's just, the guy is, there's no other way to say it. He's beautiful as he's walking out with a sword in his hand. You're just like, oh my gosh. And the camera is doing this sweeping motion following as it's the only shot that really does this. It's sweeping across and it sweeps up Fernand's back and Fernand eclipses him. It stops him. So Caviezel walks out of the shot because Fernand gets swept into the shot from that point of view. And so in my mind, I kind of thought, well, maybe the end is not locked in like you think it is. Like, Fernand's supposed to lose and Caviezel's supposed to win, but it's not locked in because he got eclipsed. And so it was a great shot. It stood out to me. It made me look and say, it was a wonderful view that he had his chance to get away and he didn't. And anyway, it was a great couple shots.
Of course,
I want to see the scene where, like, give me a deleted scene or something where Edmund's like staring at himself in the mirror, just shaving his beard, like ready for that final fight. Just like, yeah, I'm gonna let this guy know who I am, beardless.
Yeah,
that's what I want. Oh no, I lost it. Never mind.
Anything else for visuals, or we should move down to sound? Because I have a lot. For sound. I'll go last.
let's go down to sound. Yeah.
What stood out? Effects, music, or vocal sounds? Because this did have some narration too, which I thought was kind of fun.
The way to fast forward time. This was a new way. He got whipped on every anniversary in the prison. And, you kind of think, oh, how long's he been in prison? And I still don't know how long he's been in prison, right? I mean,
13 years.
Okay, 13.
They straight up tell you. I caught it on this because I was looking for other things. But yeah, 13
I was looking
years.
for it, and I thought Henry Cavill must have been like 17 or 18. So I was thinking 17,
15 to turn 16, but he also spent like 3 years, outside.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Or ish.
And so, but the way they show passage of time is him getting whipped every year. And so when they have him getting whipped, you kind of realize, it's your first year. It's the passage of time without having to show him moving all around. He just keeps getting whipped every year, and we're fast forwarding. So I thought it was a different way to show it, other than to just kind of fade into 11 years later. Kind of.
Yeah, much more effective. Jocelyn,
Craig, I actually want to hear. I didn't get a whole lot out of the music out of this one.
Yeah.
Again, it's like I don't feel like it stood out a ton to me. So I'm gonna let you go first, and I'm gonna riff off of you.
Okay. So I've mentioned this on past shows that when I think I hear a leitmotif, then I bust out my phone, and again, SoundHound should be a sponsor. I pull out SoundHound and I see, yes, is this something that I should be paying attention to? And because initially I was like, yeah, it's a pretty good score. It's kind of rousing, swashbuckling, kind of old fashioned score. And there's a song called "The Training Montage," appropriately entitled, when they start doing the sword training and the hand to hand, like the speed of hand thing with the putting your hand in the water and stuff, and it's very syncopated, which makes sense.
That's a very inspired song title.
Yeah, sometimes they're kind of silly. "Escape from the Island" is another one that's the one that plays when he falls into the water. Then there's very much this sense of urgency with drums and rising strings. He's trying to lock the chains while he's underwater. But it's also played during the final sword fight, which I thought was interesting. So it's kind of like it's the fight for his life type of thing is kind of what I got from that. In both cases, both very frantic. But what I thought was really interesting is there's a song called "Marseille." And this is the main leitmotif. And when he arrives back in Marseille, that's the first time you hear it. You hear it also when he washes ashore after escaping the prison. You hear it right after the knife fight with Jacobo. You hear it the second time he comes back in Marseille. And then when he's introduced, there's this very ominous version of that. You hear it when Albert comes for breakfast, and then you hear it at the very end too, standing on the cliff, Chateau d'If. So it's played repeatedly. It's like this: he's going home, or he's about to go home. He's finding his home. He's finding acceptance. It's all of those things. It's a hopeful thing for the most part, but it's essentially it's his theme song. So I thought that was amazing. Like, you just woven in these different, like, it shows up, like 8 times, this small little motif. So.
Well, and the nice thing about all those too is, like you said at the beginning, I mean, it's a period piece as much as it can be. So there's not any like electric guitars or synthesizers, anything like that. Like, everything feels very period appropriate. You got drums and strings and things like that. So it's not distracting in the least bit. It doesn't remind you it's a movie. It reminds you it's a story.
So my last thing that just would be like the narration that I kind of alluded to earlier. Sometimes narration can be overused. They can just straight up explain to you instead of showing you. But I really liked, like, Abbe Feria, he narrates the daily routine to tell them the plan for getting out. And then you have a lot of, since he's figuring things out, Dantes is figuring things out, you have a couple of past conversations being replayed kind of with an echo vibe as you get to see the visuals of that too. Like conversation they had with Villefort at the beginning, or before he lets him go, or think he's going to let him go. And then they have at the end too, where you have Dantes and Jacobo narrate how they're going to take down Count Mondego by showing him like he's going to, could lose all his money this way. They're going to call in his debts and those things. So kind of let us in, because we're not as smart as he is. This is a very smart movie too, which I really, really appreciate. So there are little twists. We can be surprised by it, but we're looking at Dantes like, yeah, this guy worked really hard, as you alluded to also, Corey. Like, he's trained his mind and his body, and he's this alpha male that we can't possibly keep up with it. We need a little help.
there's definitely a whole hero's journey through what he goes through in the prison, and that's pretty powerful. It's not small. It's a whole character building of him.
Like he transforms so much that it's not surprising to me that nobody recognizes him. Because if you look at Edmond Dantes from the beginning, he's like quiet and naive, and he kind of has like his shoulders in, and he's to himself. He looks down a lot. It's almost as stark as the Christopher Reeve like Superman Clark Kent transformation.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one part of the movie I struggled with. How did they not recognize him? He looks
completely different. Well, even Mercedes had difficulty recognizing him until he started like doing the hair twirly thing,
which is an important
because even she was like kind of unsure about things. But between like pre-prison Edmund and then prison Edmund and then Count Monte Cristo, I guess you could say, like that's three very distinct like feels you get from him.
Money makes people look good. I don't know. That's what you tell, I guess. If you got money, you look different. It's just because he was very wealthy. And boy, do they love wealthy people.
You know what bugged me, though, was in the prison, his teeth were all rotted out, right?
Yeah.
And then once he becomes the Count, 3 years later, his teeth are perfect.
He's got a toothbrush. 3 years to go to the dentist, Justin. It's fine.
3 years to go to the dentist in the early 1800s? Nah, I'm not going to buy it.
That's where he spent most of his time.
Nah.
At the dentist.
I just don't think they had it in him.
I did say, I totally agree with you, Craig. There's a swashbuckling music that fits real well, especially on the ship scenes and a couple of the sword fights. The one part the sound that stood out to me was there was a big echo when Edmund and Fernand battle for the first time and are talking early on in the movie. There's such an echo in the hall that they're walking through. You could tell they're not filming this on a stage. They're filming this on a scene in location somewhere. And it just changes the acoustics of whoever's the guy holding the microphone, trying to get in on the scene, but he can't get that far because they're kind of back in the wall. It was really interesting, and I thought, oh my gosh, there's a tingy sound in there, and either it was my connection or it was an echo with the sound because it just sounds different in a castle than it does.
Well, and it kind of lends itself too as they're walking through his huge, rich home filled with leather-bound books and rich mahogany. It echoes, like it lends itself to the emptiness of that guy's life. He has all these things, but his entire home is colorless and lifeless.
Yes.
There's several servants in there, and they all just emotionless. There's nothing. You can see that represented in him. He's just so unhappy his entire life, even though he has everything.
Mm-hmm. So we've been talking about performance pretty much from the beginning because they're impeccable. They're fantastic. I love the Christopher Reeve comparison. I think that's pretty great. I love Jim Caviezel. If you haven't seen The Sound of Freedom, it's really, really good. And obviously Frequency is another one I would throw out there. And he's a dang good Jesus. So I'll put my 2 cents in for Passion of the Christ as well. I think he's an underrated actor. I really like him and everything I've seen.
He's a great villain, by the way. He was fantastic in the one with Denzel Washington where he time travels. That was a great movie.
It's been a long
time. He played a bad guy in there, and he was really good.
Wait,
2006.
What movie is that?
I can't remember what that is. Kilmer's
not
in that too.
Nick of Time, but it's
Nick of Time.
No, that's with the Pirates of the Caribbean guy.
That's Johnny Depp and happens in real time.
I'll find it anyway.
Yeah, you Google
It's
come on,
Deja Vu.
Deja Vu.
There you go.
Deja Vu.
I knew I was going to get it. I had it. Deja Vu.
There you go. Lines of dialogue that I think this is a very quotable movie.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Newcomer. Do you have something that stood out to you? I
right.
kind of hijacked the show, Justin.
No, you do. I got to find a quote that, I always do that has to have some meaning behind it that I can look and say, this means something, and this is a take to heart moment. I love good quotes. I love funny stuff. I love witty stuff. But this one right here, because you're the son of a clerk and I'm not supposed to want to be you.
Mm.
And I thought, oh my gosh, that's so powerful. Dumas wrote this in 1845 to have that kind of wisdom that, in old times and even now, everything is a class system, and everything is about, especially France back then, everything was about class and levels and people. And for him to just say, you're the son of a clerk, and instead I wish I was you because of what you are and what you have.
And Guy Pearce's delivery of that line too is
he's so good.
Oh,
I love Guy Pearce too. Gosh dang it.
Yeah,
you see why I like this movie now.
Yeah, dude.
See, I don't like Guy Pearce. I am not a guy like he makes me feel weird in every movie.
But
this
good
is like
time machine.
He does a good job making you feel weird and uncomfortable.
Memento. And LA Confidential. Come on.
Never saw any of them. Saw Time Machine, that was it.
You saw Iron Man 3, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah.
I didn't yeah, I mean that's not a great movie.
Okay, Justin, why don't you throw out a line?
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna start with a serious one too. The moment where Mercedes and Edmund meet kind of back in the palace, and she's confronting him about I know who you are, you're not the Count, you're Edmund. And her emotional delivery of the line, I want to be free of you the way you obviously are free of me.
Oh, it's so good.
Like at that point you just know she is a broken woman. She just she still loves him. Like she's like not like I don't even want you to love me back. I just want this pain to go away. Oh, I'm getting chills just saying it. I feel so bad. Like this is such a good I don't like romance films, but this is such a good romantic film. Oh,
yeah,
you know what locks you into this is when you're watching those scenes and you're just going, just tell him that's his son. Like just shout it out. Like that's how I felt watching this.
I wondered about that too.
Why doesn't she just say it? And so then you realize you're already pulled in, you're caught, you're wrapped in the story, and you love it. So
or Edmund, like his servant, I forget
Jacobo.
his name.
Jacobo.
Yeah, makes a good point. Like you have everything, just go, leave.
Yeah.
So let's pause for half of a second. Why do you think she didn't tell him that Albert was their son?
I know, but I don't want to.
I do want to know that. I don't know why.
I think I'm probably stealing this from another movie. I don't think she wanted him to come on account of like duty or obligation.
Yep, that's what I think too.
I want him to come by his own free will.
Yep.
If he still loves me after all this time.
Yep. Yeah. It's about me. It's not about I think so too. Because then when Jacobo comes back, he's like, you and your son, and she's like, yeah, that's it. Okay, we did it.
Yeah. Corey, at what point, as a new viewer, again, I saw this 2002, so I don't remember. At what point did you figure out that was his son? When she said it, or did you kind of pick up on it before?
When I saw Henry Cavill the first time, I thought, there's no way that's Guy Pearce's son. And
he's too handsome.
And then when the guy said
Caviezel's son, though.
They made a comment about her marrying him only a month after, like so quick. And I was like, she was pregnant.
Did they make that comment early or just late? Because they did catch it.
It was after he came back. Like it was the old man that he was talking to. Like, she's turned around and
married him so quickly.
Married him so quickly, and I thought, she's pregnant. And at that time, that's a big deal. Like you can't.
Yeah, and Dantes is like, that's even worse that you did that, and she's like, actually, it was better. I saved her. So
yeah, I'm gonna call bullcrap with the string ring on for 16 years.
Yeah,
though.
It sure did not look dirty. I said
don't
that.
care how much you love someone. That thing's not staying on for 16 years,
especially with the rich, wealthy people.
It's metaphor.
Yeah.
Okay.
You didn't wash your hands for 16 years. What's wrong with you?
All right. Here's my first one.
All right, Craig. What do you got?
the great Michael Wincott as Dorliac starts off and says, and if you're thinking just now, why me, oh God? The answer is God has nothing to do with it. In fact, God is never in France this time of year. Oh my gosh! And it keeps going though. Edmund's like, God is everything. Edmund has faith at the beginning, which is interesting because he gets broken.
Yeah.
He says God, but it's a naive faith. George, I love you said he's naive. Justin he says God has everything to do with it. He's everywhere. He sees everything, but it's a very surface level faith. And then Dorliac says, all right, let's make a bargain, shall we? You ask God for help, and I'll stop the moment he shows up.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, God does show up because it's pretty freaking miraculous how he gets out of Chateau d'If.
Yes.
Well, and at some point, doesn't someone tell him, like, Dantes, God sees you out of the corner of his eye once again, or something like that?
Yes, Jacobo says that at the end, because
that is such a good line.
Because Mercedes gets shot, and it's just in the shoulder. Yeah, out of the corner.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yep.
Speaking of Jacobo, I got to go with his line because I think this is so good. I swear on my dead relatives, and even the ones who are not feeling too good, I am your man forever. Even the ones that are not feeling too good. I swear on them because they're dead soon. So
I say this with all affection because I love this movie, and I said this to Justin at lunch. It's like in the way that Alan Rickman is acting in an entirely different movie in Prince of Thieves, and God bless him for it. Luis Guzman is doing the same here. Like,
yes.
you're barely in this movie. You're like you got some weird direction. I love
like
it,
he didn't do the line readings with everyone else. He just
No.
showed up and he's like, I'm gonna bring a different vibe.
But you know what?
do you.
They have such a little chemistry between the
Oh, it's
two of
great.
them.
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
cemented when he walks out of the big dinner party and he just flings his cane up there and Jacobo catches it. Just, it's very athletic. Like he just like tosses it. We're playing the part, but I'm throwing my cane to you. And he's up at the top. It was kind of a cool little throw and I'm going to catch it. Like I just know we're in sync together. You know, I'm not your servant, but I am your servant. And because I owe my life debt to you, it was great. It was a fantastic way to kind of cement their relationship.
You know what? You mentioned chemistry, and like that got me thinking. Jim Caviezel, we've said a lot of nice things about him, but he has chemistry with everyone he is on screen.
Yes.
If you think about like him and Guy Pearce on the screen together, you feel the hatred.
Yeah.
And like him and Henry Cavill, you feel like that fatherly love, the protection. Him and Mercedes, you feel that love. Like all of the characters, like he conveys that emotion to each of them so perfectly, so good.
So good.
Another
Do we
quote.
have-
Come on now.
Yeah,
I got
another
more.
I have so many. We got to do just like maybe one more because we're running long.
Too
I
much.
know.
Okay, so Mercedes says, "Is Torville dead?" And then Fernand responds, "Well, unless his heart is situated somewhere other than the left side of his chest, I suspect he is."
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Oh,
Gallows.
I love
humor.
that duel scene. I love how short and not drawn out it is.
Nope.
It's like slash dead, walks away, doesn't even bother to like look at the guy as he's dying. He's like, I have better things to do.
All right, Craig. Give us one.
Oh my gosh, there's so many good. Okay, this is gonna be my last one. I'll just end with this one. The birthday toast.
Oh,
He says, "Life is a storm, my young friend. You will bask in the sunlight one moment, be shattered on the rocks the next. What makes you a man is what you do when that storm comes. You must look into that storm and shout as you did in Rome. Do your worst, for I will do mine. Then the fates will know you as we know you, as Albert Mondego, the man."
That was good. In 1845, that was very wisdomous.
So good. It's very wisdomous.
Very wisdomous. I'm going to tell you that when Edmund and Fernand are talking, and he says, "How did I escape with difficulty? How did I plan this moment with pleasure?"
Oh,
pleasure.
That was my other
What?
one. You were so glad. Ugh.
Oh, powerful that all of that in one statement to just say difficulty and pleasure.
Mhm.
And he like whispers it to Count Mondango when he says that. Ooh.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know what like excessive chills does to one's body, but I've just had chills for like the last hour.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's good.
All right, last one I got. Last one. Okay, because I love a payoff, Craig. Okay. He says, the priest, when they were talking in the prison, and he says, "I am a priest, not a saint."
Mhm.
And then when he is fighting Fernand, he says, "Where's your mercy?" And he said, "I'm a count, not a saint."
Mhm.
And I love the payoff
Oh.
because that is still there. That mentor, that thinking of him is still there. That line has stuck with him about being a saint. And then afterwards, he buys the prison and swears, "I will do only good with this from here forward for you and God." So powerful movie, powerful moment. So I thought it was great.
All right, I got one more. The priest, when he pops into Dantes's or Edmund's cell, and he just like pokes his head up, and like Dantes is completely terrified. He's like, "Forgive my intrusion. I was under the impression I was digging toward the outer wall." Like he just wasted years of his life, and he's like, "Oh darn it,
Yeah.
I'm in another
my
cell.
bad."
I'm scanning. Yeah, go ahead, Corey.
Is his name's Dante's? Is that a hint to Dante's Inferno? Is that?
I mean,
that-
he does kind of go through hell,
Well,
so
because-
that I'll be
well,
interested
because
to know what the origin of that is.
3 circles within the city of Dis for Dante's. This because I looked this up because I thought of this Dante's Inferno. I didn't realize his name was I heard Dante's, but I didn't realize it was spelled Dante's.
Yeah,
and because in the prison, the guy says, "You forced me to walk a fine line, Dante's," and I thought Dante's Inferno, right? When you walk a fine line. 3 of the circles within Dante's city of Dis is violence, simple fraud, and a treacherous friend. All 3 fit this movie perfectly. And so it's kind of like a circle of hell that he had to go through. And I thought it was very fitting. Maybe Dumas did that on purpose or not, but
I doubt it's an accident.
I did a quick Google search, and some people have theorized that yes.
There's a fan theory.
There's a fan theory.
A book fan
there's
theory.
There's a fan theory. And see, the most commoners aren't
250
well versed in this type of literature like I am.
That's a nice pull, Corey.
Yeah.
So I'm just seeing if we have anything else we haven't talked about for performance. We've talked about you have to mention had been twisting his hair because that's a big clue to his true identity. We see that pretty easily. Again, payoff with that. So that we're able to pull on that.
I did feel like with the hair twisting on my second watch, I think I started noticing, well, obviously that's a big plot point. He doesn't do it very naturally. Like he seems like Caviezel. I don't know. He just looked weird doing that. Did anyone else pick up on that?
I thought he did it on purpose.
Have that. Like people have had that nervous tick before, where they twist their hair, and it looks kind of natural. But he looked like he was forcing it.
I thought he did it on purpose to kind of make a little thing for her.
Oh, you think so?
I thought he did. When I first saw it, I did.
Yeah, I don't think he wanted her to know though, because he thought she was in on it.
Yeah, I think he was still mad at her.
He was she was one of the 4 that he was taking revenge on. That's why the bam, 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 bam. How was this a bad plan?
Why wasn't that one of our favorite?
Why don't we just walk up to them in Paris? Bam, 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 bam. Yeah.
Spend your money. Okay. We talked about, I think we covered just about everything else. It's very period appropriate. Everything is, it's all the costuming and the beard. And we talked about that. It really ages him. I thought they also had some kind of gray in his hair, which I thought was interesting. Locations. I'm going to go ahead and move us down there. Most of it took place on Malta. So filmed on location, you guys mentioned this too. Like that's why it sounds the way it does, right? It's like in castles. A lot of it filmed in Ireland as well. Powers Court Estate is Dante's estate that he buys, and the climactic thing is outside Slane. So that's interesting.
Is that the scene? Like I saw a brief thing that said Alexandre Dumas visited this island, and that's what gave him the motivation for writing this book. Not this movie, because it wasn't there then. Yeah. But he wrote the book based on this scene of this place he had been to.
I wouldn't doubt it.
So.
Yeah. Set decoration. One thing that I noticed I thought was kind of interesting. You talked about, Justin, you talked already about, was it Mondego's house? The way that was kind of set up?
Mm-hmm. It was just empty.
Villafor's office is also kind of, it's enormous, but it's very sparsely decorated. We really get to see that in the scene where he's kind of interrogating Dantes at the beginning there, which I thought was interesting because like he's this small little man in this giant room that he doesn't really deserve, but it doesn't fit him. The room's not full; it's very, very empty. So that was kind of my big takeaway from
that. I thought from the set decorations, this whole story, all the scenes and everything, it made a wonderful movie. But I thought you could make this into a great play. And I'm sure it's been done. There's like 40 movies about this, and there's probably a billion plays. But I feel like the scenery is not overly complex that someone could make a great play about it because it's such a great story, such a great arc. And I think this would be a great theater play to go see somewhere.
Yeah, I can absolutely.
Someone makes this into a musical. Heaven help me! Oh, that'll be delightful.
I think it is, Justin. I just Googled it. So
is Heaven Help Me one of the songs? Because I can see that.
That is.
God Will Give Me Justice. That'll be one too.
Oh yeah.
They've mentioned the chess piece. The letter from Napoleon's pretty stinking important. I love how this just fits in. Like I feel like this story could absolutely feel like in a regular, like there's the history of France and Napoleon story. And by the way, this is what happened. I remember when we went and saw Napoleon, it was like, oh yeah, and then like right here would have been the part where Dantes would have talked to him. Like it fits in so well with that. And I mean, everybody's looking for like the Napoleon, like the partisans or whatever, but Clarion has a cane with Napoleon's head on it. Which I think that's a pretty big tell, dude. That's pretty
like
bold.
Bold move to be walking around like Paris
Yeah.
post Napoleonic Paris with, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. He was a believer. He's a true believer.
How he gets him at the end is fantastic, where he gets him in the car and there's a pistol in there and the guy goes to off himself and then he says, "Did you really think I'd make it that easy?" Like,
Pops
it's
his head
just
up in the window.
oh my gosh. It was just the trap was sprung. I put you in there. I even gave you hope of a way out, and then bam, I took it from you. And I get
He had a
another
lot
dig.
of time to plan
Like
that.
not just one dig on you, I got 2 digs on you. I got you 1 arrested, I set you up, and then you were caught by it, and then 2, I took away your thought of your only way out.
Well, and you have the steam as set decoration too, which I thought
Yeah.
was really interesting. Like, well, why is he doing this? Why is he doing so that the rest of the cops can show up around, or gendarmes, or how you say it.
Now, I'm going to say, this is where I got to say about the brilliance of this movie and this story. 1845, this is written, okay? And I'm assuming most of these elements are in the book because I saw a thing that said that they pulled so many things from the book that it was so good. But I feel like this sets the trend for all movies about revenge stories, where you can't just kill someone at the end and get your revenge. That's too easy. You want them to he even says, I can't just kill them. I want them to suffer like I suffered. And I feel this movie has set up all other revenge movies for how they have to be done from here on out. You have to have a trap that you spring. You have to work all these different pieces. You have moments where you're getting weak and you feel like, oh man, if I could just get away and go and live and you'll be fine. But no, I have to finish this. Don't take away my hate. They're all powerful elements that this book has in 1845 that we get in every movie that has a revenge story like this. Because I was thinking of all these movies I've seen where there's a revenge of someone who was wrongfully accused and comes out. And it's always about springing a trap. It's always about making someone confess what their sins were, and then they didn't know they were being recorded, or they didn't know that someone was behind them listening, and they confess all their sins, and then you're like, got them. There's one. And then you go on. It's that kind of all the elements, exactly what you have in movies today.
Yeah. It's a timeless story. It's so well constructed.
So there's a podcaster I really like. His name is Dan Carlin. He goes like super deep dives into history. Like he releases 1 or 2 podcasts a year, and they're like 12 hours long, super long, not that long. But anyway, he says this quote that kind of reminded me of like what you're talking about there, Corey, about how history is so interesting because even though the stories change, your emotions, anger, hate, revenge, joy, sadness, all those things, people throughout history have all experienced those.
Yeah.
And like that's what connects you to everyone throughout history. And I feel like revenge would be a big one in that. Like everyone, even in the early, 1800s, like revenge is a timeless emotion. And same with everything else conveyed in this film, like friendship, brotherhood, and love, and all those things. Like, I feel like people can connect to this movie, even though it came out, 20 some odd years ago, and the book came out 200 some odd years ago. Like, that's not going to change. People are still going to like connect with that on a very emotional level, regardless of how that story is told.
Even to the climax, right? Right, where they're all in the castle together, and everybody's there. All the cards are on the table. She's there, the son's there, Ferdinand, Edmund are there, Jacobo's there. Everybody's there all at once. It's like, well, there's no secrets out now. It's all come full force. And the lies have been exposed, and it's such a great climaxing scene to say, this is the big wrap up, the big push, and the resolution, and here we go.
And he makes that choice to like stay with his family.
Yeah.
And to me, I think that's also just amazing character development because throughout the film, all he wanted to do was have his revenge, and there he has it. And he's like, "No, I'm gonna stick here." And he's eventually convinced to go get Mondego.
So, any characters we haven't talked about that we need to? I'm looking through and seeing. Yeah, the great Richard Harris, just to call him out by name, as Abbe Faria, Dumbledore.
Oh.
Yeah, was Dumbledore at the same time as this? He had played Dumbledore once, and was in the middle of his 2-movie run.
He looked frail, but this was a very athletic role for him.
Yeah.
I feel at his age for what he was doing, because they had him on the ground doing different things, and
he had a bit of a renaissance in these 3 years between Gladiator and Harry Potter, and then
Oh, yeah.
I forgot he was in Gladiator.
I forgot he was
Yeah.
too.
He's the emperor.
I feel like we talked about him a little bit, but Christopher Adamson, who plays Maurice, just such a great villain. My word.
Yeah.
Oh, he's been in some stuff too.
Yeah, he's in Prince of Thieves, which is the same director, like we mentioned at the top.
Yeah.
But man, he has such a raspy, villainous voice. Good for him.
Well, between him and Michael Wincott, they could have a rasp-off.
A rasp-off.
There you go.
Oh my word! I'm looking at current pictures of this guy. Not aged well. He looks rough.
He was in Judge Dredd.
This is how slow I am. I just realized Michael Wincott, who I love so much in everything, but in
Three Musketeers,
in Prince of Thieves it's the same director. So of course he brought him back for this.
and he's also in the other Alexandre Dumas story, Three Musketeers.
Is he?
Yeah, he plays the guy with the one eye who killed D'Artagnan's dad.
Oh, that's right.
And then D'Artagnan gets his revenge on him, and almost takes out Kiefer Sutherland. But he's a great villain in all of those movies. Robin Hood, he's fantastic. Three Musketeers, he's fantastic. And
Three
he
Musketeers is not a good film, though. I'm going to put my 2 cents on that. It's not a good film. It's not held up. Have you watched it?
I love that movie.
Have you watched it recently?
I haven't watched that.
I
movie
loved it
since
when it first came out.
2-3 years ago. I loved
Watch it again. It's not good.
D'Artagnan, we're saving the
like,
king. I yell that
like
to
this.
my children all the time when I'm telling them to hurry up. I yell it out. I go, D'Artagnan, come on, we're saving the king.
I must have seen that movie in like 95, so I can't speak. It was good when I was like 10.
Yeah,
so,
I liked it when it first came out. I was all big fan of that. But
I can't believe you go Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves holds up, and this one does. This Three Musketeers does it. I'm calling Balderdash.
No, Prince of Thieves does not hold up. I just love the movie.
No, yeah, that's true. It has nostalgia glasses. It's ridiculous, but it has Alan Rickman in it, so that trumps all.
Okay, Alan Rickman rules all.
Okay,
yes.
So this is the thing I wanted. I think I mentioned this. I don't think I mentioned it on the show, but I mentioned it to Justin, is that what I thought was really interesting, again, Kevin Reynolds, same director as Prince of Thieves in this, is that one of the big gripes about Prince of Thieves is that Kevin Costner's English accent is atrocious when it shows up. It's inconsistent at best. And I don't know why he even made him do an English accent, because I don't think we would have cared. And Exhibit A is this movie, because ain't nobody have a French accent in this movie, and we don't care. You know what I mean?
True.
So
that's
like,
true.
it slightly pulled me out when they landed on Elba. It's Elba, right?
Yeah.
Okay. When they get out there and are like, we're French soldiers, or we're, and like the English are coming, and like they all talk the same. Like, there's no English accents.
But you don't care in the story.
No, exactly. So that's my point. Is like, rather than like try and round peg into square hole thing, like Costner can't do an English accent. Maybe he can do it now. He couldn't do it then. We wouldn't have cared if he just sounded American. We would not have cared. Just like we didn't care here. But when you do it and you do it poorly,
okay,
then it stands out like a sore thumb. So that was one thing about this movie that I appreciate. Like, it's not authentic French accents, or not speaking in French with subtitles or whatever. It's perfect the way it is.
Does anybody not French ever speak? Like, do any of those British soldiers ever? They do speak when they're talking about his captain, and like they're like stabbing the captain to see if he's actually
that whole thing.
So I was gonna say, maybe it's just they're all speaking British accents, and we can assume it's French based on, I don't know, some translation machine. I don't know. Started that sentence without knowing where it was going.
It was a fun ride. All right. Anything else there?
No.
Okay, we talked about Hero's Journey a lot. Yeah, I think the more I think about it, the more it fits. He's obviously a reluctant hero, and he has the mentor who dies and passes on the knowledge as kind of the supernatural aid thing. But you also have this complete apotheosis. He dies when he goes to Chateau d'If. Like, that version of Edmond Dantes dies and is then reborn.
He even says that. He said, well, like you said, that man you speak of is dead, or
and in a lot of ways he is. Yeah. So just brilliant example of that. And Justin, I'm kind of jealous that you're reading that book. So like, if you like it, I'm like, let me know because I will dive into. I'm
I
not
should
afraid
be
of
to
no
page
900
2
bench.
tomorrow. I'll let you know.
We talked about world building. This absolutely, we've talked about it a lot. I think it does a lot of world building. It fits well. It blends right into the 1800s France, right? It doesn't feel. It feels like it's very natural. I mentioned this before. Like it fits like it's part of that historical period. It feels very authentic there.
I love historical fictions. I love just like here's some history. We're gonna take a side note and just pretend like this happened during this time period. It's my favorite.
Are we ignoring that there's a belief there? There's a theory that it's based off this Pierre Picard, who was a shoemaker falsely accused of treason, who, once released from prison, embarked on a course of vengeance that spun wildly out of hand. Like that's
we're not ignoring it. We just didn't know.
Oh well, there you go. That's what.
You're doing some Googling over there, Corey?
Yeah, I did.
Is that what's happening?
It's just a story.
Sounds like you made that up. Didn't sound like
I made that up right off the top of my head.
Yeah, or recited it. I remember this one time.
Yeah.
All right. Final thoughts.
Yeah.
Final thoughts on this film.
Listen, after this podcast, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go watch this movie again. I love it so. Like, I don't know what else to say. I gushed over Blade Runner last time, or 2 times ago, I suppose. But this movie's better than Blade Runner. I love it. I love it so much. Yep.
That's big words for you,
and
Justin.
I forgot. And I'm sad that I forgot how good it is. It's just, it's got everything. You get a whole range of emotion, and it's just so well done. And the 2 main actors in here just nail every single scene they're in, and they convey all of those emotions into the audience so perfectly well. It's beautiful.
Yeah, great film. Corey.
I cannot believe I never watched it. I can't believe I just thought, I wasn't into this type of movie. I was convinced it was not going to be that great. And as I watched it, I realized this is a fantastic story. And for me to think back to some of the wisdom in it, because there's a lot of wise lines that come from this 1845 story that apply to us today in modern stories. But I think when you look at revenge stories, there's betrayal, survival, faith, revenge, and then also at the end he has a redemption arc that he has to go through to kind of make his plea on the end of the mountain to say, what I did for revenge, I now have to do for good for the rest of my life. And I got to tell you, that's powerful. So my hat's off to Alexandre Dumas. This is a fantastic story, and I'm glad we've got it. I'm glad I watched it. So if you haven't seen it, you definitely have to check it out. I look forward to watching it with my wife here next week because we've already got it planned. So
it appears if you look at IMDb, there is another one. They even have a trailer coming out in June of this year.
There's a show. There's actually 2. There's 2 things. There's
Jim
a show
Caviezel?
and a movie. No, it's not Jim Caviezel. No, it's another adaptation. Yeah, I did not plan for this to necessarily be coinciding with that, but yeah, there's apparently Count of Monte Cristo is so hot right now.
He's so hot right now.
You know what? Looking at user ratings on IMDb, 925 people, 0.6% of people that voted gave this movie 1 out of 10 stars.
What?
That makes me mad.
They're idiots.
This movie from 2002? It's review bombing.
That's like statistically irrelevant in this case, but still makes me mad for those 925 people.
They didn't finish it. Whatever.
There's 40 adaptations to this movie. 40 movie adaptations have been made.
Famous story.
Yeah. Okay.
Craig,
so
final
on that
thought.
note, yeah, no, that's it. I love this movie, and I'm so glad that we got to watch it. And Corey, I'm really glad that you enjoyed it. It was like Justin had said. I was a little nervous that we would have to kick you off the show.
That's how it works. If you disagree with us twice in a row,
It's been a while since we've all liked the same movie.
It's revenge for the Gray Man.
I set a trap. I played chess. I got my revenge. You thought I was gonna hate it, and I ended up loving it. So see,
it's a good movie. Really good movie.
I'm the Count.
Yeah, this was such a great palate cleanser. After
you guys
Man.
jumped on me so difficult last time that this was my revenge to come back and love the movie you picked
multiple times. Yeah. Well, on that note, we're going to get out of here. And as we close, we want to say thank you, everybody, for listening. If you'd like to connect with us, you can find us on X and Facebook. Email us at readingbetweenreels@gmail.com or use the SpeakPipe app on our website. If you enjoyed the show, please tell a friend. If you hated the show, tell a friend. Just tell everybody. And support us, if you would, by writing a review, especially on Apple Podcasts, to help us get the word out about the show. And next, as decided by our amazing listeners, our next episode will be a review of Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. This is another one of Justin's picks. Yep. Send us an email or voicemail about your favorite moments from that movie, Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. We'll share it on the next episode. Also, we have another poll coming, our last one. The last of our series decided by our listeners. You can vote for that. That'll show up. It should be up by the time this recording drops. Vote for that future movie review using the polls that are posted on our X profile page or in our Facebook group. Vote early, vote often. For round 3, the choices are 300. Yeah, the Zack Snyder film.
Yes.
Red. Or my choice, Armageddon.
You can't tell them your choice.
That's
Edit
my
that out,
choice.
Craig.
No, it's
Your
my
choice.
choice. Vote for me.
Vote
No.
300.
All right, we're going 3 for 3 for Justin picks, and mine is 300. If we're telling people picks now, yeah.
This
There you go.
is Sparta.
Good film. We may have to do that one twice if we do this one now. All right. Thanks, guys. You can also vote for your pick on that by emailing us at readingbetweenreels@gmail.com or by using the SpeakPipe app on our website. Voting closes on Tuesday, 6/4.